Steelers Nation, here we are again for another episode of the Steel City Insider Podcast, and back for the third time on the show. I think he's up there with Wolf now. We're welcoming back Mike Prisuta of the DVE Morning Show, the post-game show, and Wex and Prisuta. You guys were at the Bruce concert this weekend in Baltimore. How was that?
Legendary. It always is when you see the E Street Band. It's my 71st time. Jim hadn't been there since, the 80s, Wex? You saw an 80s caliber E Street Band in all its power and glory. They were like the 85 Bears of a concert.
I loved it. It was fantastic. I've seen Bruce. I think I've seen him twice at the Stanley Theater. The one thing I did miss, of course, you come home from a great show and you're addicted to YouTube and you got to search for some stuff. And the new sax player is not Clarence. I mean, Clarence really brought the power. And that's noticeable on some of the old YouTubes. But otherwise, the rest of the band is better. I mean, they're fantastic.
Awesome. Well, maybe you guys can go to a concert every weekend because the Ravens lost. You guys were in Baltimore, so you must have spread some juju there. And the Steelers go to 2-0. They defeat the Denver Broncos. Today was the Tomlin presser. And let's jump right into it, guys. Talking about the quarterback position, we saw another winning performance from Justin Fields. Thoughts?
I don't know. I mean, I hear Justin Fields is all the rage nationally and a lot of people locally jumping on that bandwagon. Let me preface my comments by saying I'm not anti-Justin Fields. When they picked him up, I thought maybe they can work with this guy for a year and unlock whatever it is that he hasn't been able to bring consistently, because he's got great athleticism. You watch him run, you watch him throw, you think, what an athlete. They got one touchdown in 2 games. I mean, what is the rush to anoint Justin Fields over Russell Wilson, who hasn't gotten a chance to play yet? And yeah, I saw the rollout play and the 51-yard pass that didn't count. It didn't count. He's had 2 games to make that play happen when it counts, and he hasn't done it. Did I mention they have 1 touchdown in 2 games? He's doing a nice job not screwing it up. I think Russell Wilson was brought here to facilitate winning games instead of just not losing them.
I tell you, it's nice screaming into the void when you're 2-0. So, I like him. I'm what did you call those national experts, Mike?
Oh, I can't remember. It wasn't anything complimentary.
I'm getting that feel that they might have found a gem off the scrap heap. I rewatched the game today, and when he took off and dashed down the sideline about 20 yards to the left, a free blitzer was coming. That's just special. The throws he's made, the touchdown that was called back, didn't have a touchdown called back last week, Mike. I know the offensive line isn't quite there yet, although those 2 rookies are pretty good.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. And that line is going to start meshing. I'm excited when Ciamalo comes back. And, they don't even think about a rotation over there on right tackle. But also when the running game, I don't know if it's going to get better. I did like that Jaylen Warren got more snaps than Najee Harris. But I don't know that it's going to get better. I think the run game has to get better for this offense to live up to its potential and to consider sitting Russell Wilson down for the rest of the year. Fields is just not making mistakes. I mean, in training camp, we would see this brilliance that we see now, but then 2 plays later, we'd see him throw into the belly of a defensive lineman on a screen pass. He would make mistakes at a high rate, but he's not making them now. So I like what I'm seeing. I think
he's not playing from behind either, Wex. He's playing from ahead. He's playing against teams that they've been relatively sure these guys aren't going to score against us, that type of mindset. And, some of that is what he's being directed to do. Probably the majority of that is what he's being directed to do. Just don't, like last year, don't turn the ball over. I like how they're possessing it, keeping the defense rested. I think this Chargers game is going to be a step up in class. In terms of what they're playing against defensively and maybe, where they're playing. The Chargers If they can run the ball, that's going to be a problem, and they've been running the hell out of it so far. Yeah, that play where he ran away from, I think it was Browning, the free blitzer, but there were other opportunities to run, and he didn't take them. He took a shot over the middle to Calvin Austin and was in a triple coverage, and a better pass would have been intercepted. I mean, I just haven't seen him be the difference maker for that group yet. And maybe he's got that in him, maybe he doesn't. But I'll revert back to Wilson. I mean, TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, and Minkah Fitzpatrick recruited this guy. They wanted him to be their quarterback. When I say they, I mean the Steelers. I'd like to see him play at least once before I give the keys to the pink Cadillac to Justin Fields. That was a little Bruce reference there.
Would they have recruited him so hard had they had Justin Fields already?
Well, I guess we'll never know. It didn't happen till afterward, but
no, I hear all that, Mike. It's just, I mean, what if he has another 18-10 mistake-free win?
Then you put the guy you brought here to play quarterback in and see if you can get more than 18 points, because you are going to need that at some point, correct?
Right. But these wins, I mean, I assume he's going to get better. Things are going to get better. The line's going to get better, which would therefore make the running game better. I don't know if the second receiver is ever going to get better. I don't know if the tight ends are going to get faster. They don't have much speed on offense except that quarterback. Now, if Russell comes back and shows me that springtime mobility that we saw that springtime mobility and it was, wow, that's the Russell Wilson that was in Seattle. But he hasn't shown that even in the interim between the camp injury and the re-injury. When he came back to training camp, he didn't run at all. And then the one time he did run a week before he was re-injured, there was nothing there. He looked like an old man. He's got to get past that.
Oh, no question. He's got to be mobile. That's still got to be a part of his game. It's a play action bootleg offense. But another thing that we haven't seen yet that we could, if Wilson's given a chance to come back, then you see Fields coming in periodically, 3rd and 1 at the 40, goal line series maybe, change of tempo, 4th series of the game. I was looking forward to Justin Fields being involved as a backup, not just standing there with a clipboard, but your change of pace quarterback, or here comes a big curveball defense. What are you going to do with this? Russell Wilson's got to play to be able to resort to that. And then maybe you see him take off more. Then maybe you see him take a few more chances. I don't know. Winning is certainly the most important thing. The 0 interceptions is certainly the most important thing. By the way, how about learning how to take a snap? Can we get that sorted out before we anoint the guy the starter? Because it's continuing to be a problem. They're lucky it hasn't been a bigger problem.
Well, the one bobble was in this past game was in shotgun. So, I mean, when he's under center, this game, I don't know. I'm just excited. You have to be a buzzkill, don't you, Mike?
Well, let me put it this way, Jim. Hopefully the Ohio State guy can do to Harbaugh what he did to Harbaugh when Harbaugh was in Michigan. And then we can resume the chat.
So Mike, let me ask you about that. So what would it take? So you mentioned this game this weekend against the Chargers coming up. They've only allowed 1 touchdown, so this is probably going to be a defensive battle here. But what would it take from Fields to maybe give him legitimate consideration when Wilson is healthy to come back? What's it going to take?
I don't know, 2 touchdowns? 300 yards. I mean, they haven't gone over 300 yards yet. When they didn't do that last year, the offensive coordinator sucked and the quarterback sucked. They haven't done it yet this year. They have 1 touchdown in 2 games, and everybody's great. Welcome to Steeler Nation.
Sounds good.
Come on, you got to give this. I just think you got to give this offensive line a little time.
I agree. I fully agree. But, the numbers are what they are. To answer Jeremy's question, how about 28, 31 points? How about 22 for 26? How about rushing for 70? Then we'll consider it.
Yeah, and just talking, if we're talking pure scoring, the Steelers have scored 1 touchdown. The Chargers defense has only given up 1 touchdown, so it's definitely going to have to be an elevated effort this weekend. And they can't.
Lex, I haven't checked. Too. Is he over under 15?
The Steelers have given up only 1 touchdown, and that shouldn't have counted. That should have been Steelers ball. That shouldn't even have been a field goal.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be a battle this weekend. So let's talk about the tackle position. Troy Fautanu, Jim, I know you're proud of me. I got that pronunciation down. He's listed as the starting right tackle now on the depth chart. Broderick Jones headed to the bench this game against the Broncos. Your assessment of his performance this Sunday?
What'd you think of Kingman's performance, Jim?
Yeah, and then last Thursday we saw that Fautanu was the starter. So I was a little surprised to see them use that rotation. I thought at first, and I still think this has a reason for the rotation, that Tomlin didn't want Broderick or maybe the rest of us to think he was being punished or told that he's no good. I thought that kept him in the game. It wasn't like Chooks all of a sudden got the axe last year. Even Marcus Gilbert in 2012 suddenly lost his job, and there was no rotation. This was meant, I thought, to tell Broderick, we still love you. But today, Tomlin said that it was because of the mile-high air, and he was unsure if Fautanu was conditioned well enough. So I don't think we'll see it again. But it was pretty grim and didn't work. And the offensive linemen I talked to on Wednesday were right. It's not something you do. And we saw why.
Yeah, I think I've seen it before. I don't think it was revolutionary. I don't know if the Steelers have done it before, but I think other teams have done it occasionally. We kicked that around on the pregame show a little bit. The combination of Fautanu not having played a complete game yet because we'd only seen him against Buffalo in the preseason for a little less than 2 quarters and then having to play in Denver. The other thing is I agree 100% with what Jim said about Broderick Jones. I think they still like him. They just like Fautanu better right now. Jones, Craig Wolfley referenced when I spoke with them a lack of finish in his game. And Max Starks talked about the need for Broderick to understand that when you achieve a certain level of play as a rookie and you end up on the field, you have to understand that that's just the beginning. That's not your arrival level. You have to keep getting better. You have to keep improving. Maybe Broderick's been a little slow to grasp that. There is great competition with Fautanu and Dan Moore, who refuses to go away. By the way, Dan Moore, the anti-Kenny Pickett, Kenny Pickett whined and complained and talked his way out of town. He would be playing now had he just had the fortitude to hang in there and show up for work and work on his game and control what he can control and try to get better. Dan Moore, they keep throwing first-round picks at him, and he keeps starting. What a pro. What a pro.
Very good. Very good. Is that an analogy? Very good parallel, I think. Very good. But let me throw some of these at you, Mike. I'm going to make my comments on these. Broderick's comments after the game. I think he was just saying, look, you're not going to hurt my feelings by benching me. I can handle it. I'm a big boy. The rotation isn't really needed. I don't think he was saying I start or I don't play. I don't think he was saying we all know Broderick in the locker room. He's a good dude. He is not one of those. He's not what Chooks might have said if he would have even gotten a chance to rotate.
Yeah, I don't think it was Dave Parker back in the day when he was talking about the All-Star game. And he said, if I ain't starting, I ain't departing. I had heard about that after the game. I finally found the clip today and listened to it, and I agree with you 1,000%. It was almost like, hey, if I'm not starting, I'm not deserving of being thrown in there just because I'm who I am. I also saw about a 3-minute clip of him answering a bunch of questions. He did make something of a flippant comment about, well, defenders flop and refs throw flags. What can I do? But from what I'm told, he dealt with wave after wave of reporters, which shows his maturity and professionalism. A lot of guys beyond his years would run and hide if they went through what he went through in that game. And I have never found him to say the wrong thing. He has never once complained about practicing on either side, about, not being thrown into the lineup right away last year. They eased him in. I think he's got a good head on his shoulders. I think he's a little bit of an old soul. You wouldn't guess he's a 22 or 23-year-old guy without much experience when you talk to him. And I just think he's just too good of an athlete not to succeed. Jim, remember back in training camp, Omar Khan doubled down on the he was drafted to be a left tackle line, but he added, I'm not going to predict when that's going to happen, what year. That was the first time I heard him add the what year thing. I mean, next year seems like it'd be a good time if Dan Moore leaves, and then you've got Fautanu in place, and you put him back on the left. But I'm not giving up on Broderick Jones, but I'm certainly boy, the other guy, Jim, you watched him warm up. He just looks fluid. Not too many guys, we've been around this as long as we've been doing this, impress you when they're warming up. Troy Fautanu impresses me when he warms up.
So
keep in mind that Fautano's older than Broderick
interesting.
by about 7 months. And Broderick can play both sides. He's, like you said, Mike, he's never complained about it. And he played right tackle very well last year. And we assume could play left tackle as well. So, he's the swing tackle.
So I get a question for you guys as Steelers historians here. Can you think of any just going through the past of the Steelers of a rookie who came in, played really well, and then had a down sophomore season, only to then rebound and then contribute and went on to have a great career? Is anybody?
Wow, I'm sure it's happened.
Well, Mike, while you're thinking, I just looked this up. Marcus Gilbert was the rookie of the year in 2012, then in 2011, and then in 2012 got benched after 5 games, and then got injured and was out for the entire season. And then he came back in 2013. He had an excellent career, in my opinion.
Yeah.
This isn't quite the same thing, Jeremy, but if you're looking for a little history, they used to actually play players in the preseason games. Like they used them to warm up the starters and get them ready. They're ready to play a season. And the Steelers drafted this tackle, I think he was out of Eastern Kentucky, named John Jackson. And he was playing in the Superdome against New Orleans, and Pat Swilling was treating him like a turnstile. You know, Pat Swilling was as good as you got back in the day. And Jackson got pulled mid-drive. I think that's the last time I saw that happen prior to Broderick Jones. And it was the last preseason game in New Orleans. And in the locker room, he was going around shaking hands with his teammates and telling everybody goodbye. Nice to have gone to camp with you. He was convinced he was going to be cut. And he went on to play, what, Jim, about 10 years?
Yeah.
10 pretty good ones. So
and he was number 65, same as Dan Moore.
So what happened to Broderick's not unprecedented and pretty unusual, but my money's on Broderick Jones to get through this.
Yeah.
So there's still hope. We can't give up on him yet. So
is there a place we can bet on that, Mike?
Well, there's got to be, right?
You said your money's on it. I want to get my money on it too.
Let's put it this way: if there is, we'll find it.
Oh man, so we got to talk about the defense. They put in another tremendous performance here. And, you know, Jim, we talked about this offseason on paper that this had all the makings of being an elite unit. Now, it's still early in the season, but we saw another outstanding performance. Why is this defense performing at the level it is? We know TJ, obviously, secondary stepped up, but what are you guys seeing that's maybe different from last year to this year? Why they're performing so well?
And I'm more confident in the secondary for one. I probably because I'm taking the pass rush for granted. But, you know, so many times the pass rush would just about get there, hurry the quarterback, and then they'd find somebody open. Yeah, it's not so open anymore. I really like the strong safety. And Minka playing center field. He's just flashing around. He's a lightning bolt. You know, he bid on that flea flicker, but he also got back and made the tackle. So I want to say the secondary and the inside linebackers. And part of that is the inside linebackers can cover. We'll see. I mean, they're thin inside linebackers and they're thin nose tackles. We'll see what they do against the Chargers. They've got more power and better running backs. So we'll see what they have for the Chargers.
I'm going to go with the defensive line, Jeremy. I think Cam Hayward has been a monster. I think he has established that he's back. Which was, you know, I was willing to take him at his word during training camp, but I wasn't real sure about it. I mean, this guy had an injury-plagued bad year last year, and he's in his mid-30s, and I didn't think it was any guarantee that he was going to be all-pro form again, but he's played really well. Ogunjobi's played really well. I mean, Patrick Queen's taken some guff for not doing anything, And I think he told somebody, hey, I can't get any tackles. The D-line is getting all the tackles. This will be a great test between J.K. Dobbins and Gus the Bus Edwards. Chargers ran the ball 44 times against Carolina. I think those two guys combined for 35 carries. Dobbins rushed for, I think it was 9 yards a carry, and his average went down, or 7 yards a carry. I mean, a ridiculous number. Yeah, he averaged 7.7 per carry against Carolina, and his yards per carry average went down on the season. I mean, he's been ridiculous. The old guy that we knew from Ohio State and early Ravens days, patience, power, and explosion. Gus Edwards is no secret. Justin Herbert, coming into this year, his career average passing per game was 275 yards and change. Third highest all time among players with 1,000 minimum attempts. He hasn't gone over 200 yards yet. Jim Harbaugh's got him playing Big Ten Baltimore Raven football. I think this game's going to be fun. I know people didn't like the game in Denver. They said it was boring. If this thing ends up 12-11, I'm going to be loving it. What Jim pointed out, they're playing better running backs. It's a great test for the Steelers defense. It's also a great test for the Chargers offense, because guess what? You're not playing Carolina anymore, J.K. Dobbins. So let's start banging some foreheads and see what happens when the dust settles.
Deontay Johnson got to be happy they're moving Andy Dalton into quarterback in Carolina, huh?
Jeez. What a train wreck. Train wreck, yeah.
Do you think he wants to come back?
I would imagine.
Could they throw a draft pick down there and get him to come home?
Well, he's the guy that got the coordinator fired. He's the guy that got Mitch Trubisky pulled. He probably got Kenny Pickett pulled. I cleaned it up for you guys, and then you get rid of me.
Jeez. Yeah, that Panthers team is pretty bad.
Sure. If the Steelers had drafted J.K. Dobbins instead of Chase Claypool, they would have that explosive running back, but they would not have Joey Porter Jr.
No. So it all worked out.
So it worked out.
He's got nobody to follow on this Chargers team.
Yeah, right. But apparently you can win games without any receivers, huh?
Hey, if you can, Harbaugh find a way. Remember last year at Penn State, they attempted 2 passes in the second half. Wow. If the running game is working, he's gonna keep running it. He's gonna keep running it if it's not working.
Well, Montravis Adams is a pass rushing nose tackle, and Benton is only 300 pounds, and Peyton Wilson's rather thin. He's not Jack Lambert 212. He's 240, but he's still, you could see that he's thin. And Patrick Queen's not a big guy. This is a big game for Landon Roberts and Deshaun Elliott. That's who I'm going to talk to this week, Landon Roberts.
Yeah, that and talking about the running game of the Chargers, 5.6 yards per carry overall for the team. So we know it could be a very short game. And then on the defensive side of the ball, they've only given up 227.5 yards and that one touchdown we referenced earlier. So yeah, this could be, like you said, Mike, 12-11. So
well, I mean, they got the great edge just like Pittsburgh has, right? With Khalil Mack and Bosa. And you got Derwin James, who's like their Minka, run around and blow stuff up and make all kind of plays. I mean, this is going to be a fun game. It's not going to be a high-scoring game. I don't think it's going to be a pretty game, but it's going to be a fun game.
What is he over under?
15.
Anything else as we close up the show here?
No, I just think, I hear a lot of complaining in Steeler Nation. Maybe people just like to complain. I mean, take the 2-0 and run with it. I mean, I get why their game plan has been the way it was, because Atlanta didn't play anybody in the preseason, and Kirk Cousins was coming off the injury. So there was reason to expect that the Falcons would be held in check. And then there was reason that Denver could be expected to be held in check because Bo Nix was the quarterback. So why take a lot of chances? Why turn the ball over? They don't need to prove that they can play with the Kansas City Chiefs now. I mean, they're going to have to open this up and become more productive eventually That's, back to the beginning of our show here. That's where I think Russell Wilson comes in, but just win for now. And I think this is going to be one of Merrill Hodges' favorite descriptions, a fist fight at the 50.
Nice.
Or World War I, right? As you history buff.
Yeah.
I think that's a great title for this podcast, a fist fight at the 50. I think that's going to be it.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Check with your SEOs and make sure, because last week we had a lot of hits.
I know. Yeah, I'm going to run it through that machine, that AI generator. So,
well, me and Mike have learned if you put Justin Fields question or Russell Wilson questionable on anything, it gets a lot of hits.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'll do. I'll throw that in the line. But Mike, we want to thank you for coming on here for number 3. Hopefully we'll get you on here for number 4 again soon.
All right. And appreciate you guys having me. Jim, I've looked, the bye week, the bye Sunday is November 3rd, and the boss is playing Toronto that night. I'm thinking about it.
Oh my goodness. I love Toronto. I haven't been there in a while. It's a great town.
It's a pretty good town.
Yeah.
Not a far drive. A little further than Baltimore, but doable.
Keep me in the loop. Keep me in the loop.
All right. Well, hopefully we hear about that travel there to Toronto and that concert, but that's going to do it for number 124. We'll see you back here next week for episode 125. And we thank you for your support. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. And gentlemen, have a great week. Take care.
See you, boys.
Thanks, guys.